Hi, this is Deanna. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm going to do a video tonight, late afternoon, another hot summer day, spring 2020, and a video tonight on color. I've been getting quite a few questions about color and choosing color, and I've been putting together a lot of kits lately and just color planning for people's rugs to try to get the colors right. And I know color can be a sort of overwhelming and bewildering part of putting your rug together. For some people, it's the most fun part, and for other people, it's the part where they most often second guess themselves over and over and over and are inclined to pull out because they're not sure the color is exactly right. And I just want to start this episode by saying the color has to seem right to you. It doesn't have to follow any rules of the color wheel unless you are very traditional and you're going for the blue ribbon somewhere. It doesn't have to work like that. It has to be right for you. And you need to remember that rug hooking is supposed to be about joy. That's how it started. Putting old scraps together, doing fun, colorful things with them, doing the best you can. When you run out of one color, cut up another garment, and work that in. And it's not a perfect color match. And oh well, those beautiful old rugs are, I think, the most charming ones. And the women who did them obviously didn't have as many choices as we do about choosing colors and dyeing your own wool and all of that. So my advice, my first bit of advice going into this is don't obsess too much. But if you're interested in color and you want to do more with it and you want to know how you might plan better, or at least better informed in terms of putting your piece together, then let's look at some of our options for thinking about color, researching color, and trying colors out to prevent that fun pulling out part of every rug. So there's a lot of ways you can go about it. And of course, I've read a lot of the traditional Pearl McGowan books and I love them. I love the charm of all of those books. And there's always a lot of color wheel talk. And I know at a lot of rug hooking studios and places, hooking your own color wheel is a big part of the agenda or the beginning of your training in your class. And that is super fun, super fun. I haven't done that, not because I don't want to do it. I'm sure I will do it one of these days. I tend to fly by the seat of my pants with everything. So also with color and rug hooking. And if you are a sort of a purist and you like the rules and you're one of these sort of Picasso, Van Gogh people who believe you can't break the rules until you absolutely know all of the rules, then it is an idea to hook your own color wheel first. And it's just a great reminder of on the color wheel where your complementary colors are opposite each other, and the ones next to it, the sort of supporting cast, is full of colors that will also do the same job and help your piece pop. If you don't want to do that and you want to try a different route, some ideas are to go to the paint store and grab some of these nice paint chips, right? You can get these like in this form. This is a Home Depot job. Just lots of solid colors. This is Behr, B-E-H-R paint. Lots of solid colors. You can fool with these to your heart's content. It looks like a deck of cards, right? We'll play, I was going to say Old Maid, but maybe that's not the right choice. Feeling old already and sweaty. But yeah, I mean, you can put these together in any sort of combo and figure out what works best. You can get shades of colors, like there's two pinks in here that are very, very close. Coral Fountain and Apple Blossom. Sometimes the name of the color, if you're like me, is what really gets you. And as close as, I'm recording a video, Teddy, as close as these two colors are, they're not, right? One is more brown and one is more pink. I'm in weird light and I've got this crazy door I painted for the kids behind me. But sometimes close colors can go well together too. Putting two close colors this close into a piece gives you the ability to do all kinds of swirly, crazy play in your open spaces. When you have a color that is just slightly off, then you can see the color variation in it. And then you're looking at a much more traditional primitive style rug, like women would have done it back in the day with introducing a navy that wasn't quite a navy or a black that wasn't quite a black, or whatever, something that wasn't exactly matching. So it's good to put those close companions together, even if to you they look like they don't match. They probably would make beautiful music together. So a lot of solid color chippies that we just looked at, and then of course you've got your ones where they're showing you complementary colors right there on the card. So if you're looking for a light and a dark, they're giving you tons and tons of choices in the paint aisle. And then you've got your multis. You've got the sticks 2, 4, 8, however many they put on the sticks to show you. And again, these names are amazing. Sometimes hearing the name can jog the October Sky, Coney Island, Brooklyn, Midnight New York, Whale Gray, I mean, Northeaster. How can you go wrong when you use colors with these names? You're obviously looking at nautical colors, but sometimes just reading the name of a paint color can give you a great idea and an idea for a whole piece. You never know where inspiration is going to come from. This is called Pumpkin Essence. Not what I would think of pumpkin essence. It's not orange at all, but it's a really pale shade of orange. And I'm going to actually, I was going to just use these as bookmarks after I was done with this video, but I think I'm going to keep this one because this gives me some ideas for fall rugs where you need contrast. And perhaps I'd rather use something more like pumpkin essence than a different shade of orange. So paint chips are good. And then, you know, the paint store does so well by us these days. They make all of these, I must look like a kleptomaniac. I am doing a lot of painting too, to be fair. I didn't just go and lift a bunch of stuff, and these are free, but even so, I'm keeping them and I'm cherishing them. But I took a stack of these guys. These are the multi little books that they do, right? And these, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. This one is called Potter's Rock, and it's got chocolate on it, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but hang on. It's going to show you a bunch of colors. The palette is going to be perfect with itself, with other colors in here. They're going to show you paint colors on the wall. But what you're after is what goes really well with sandy pinks and a sunny sunshine yellow. Oh, well, some blues do, some rusts do, a lot of blacks and grays do. Potter's Rock, and then this one is called Milestone. It's got, or Popcorn, maybe it's called Popcorn. But each one of these little books is going to have already for you put together, this one is obviously going to be a good fall one, a great palette. And if you were to start with something like this and even work backwards, first grab one of these from the paint aisle and then say, okay, Easter basket, or okay, Art Deco, and start sketching a design that way. Or you grab one and you think, okay, the seascape that I was going to pick up and I haven't gotten to, that sings for me. I'm going to look for wools in that color. These are more real primitive, traditional colors. These are like classic primitive colors. But I'm not going to show you all of these. I'm going to try not to. They're just so good. Meringues on the cover. They're just so good. And they're such poppy, wonderful colors that you are bound to get some great inspirations from. I can't stop. Stop me before I kill again. I have a huge stack of them, so I must stop. But that is a lot of fun. That's a good way. And then I am stopping, I promise. And then they've got these sorts of really large format ideas. And, you know, you go in here and there's a whole page of colors. Global Spice. So you're looking for your colors. Here you go. You can, is this awful to say, take a couple of them, cut them out, and put them, you know, on a paper to show you color by number where you mean to put things. Just ideas, all possibilities. There's no reason to struggle with color when there's so many free ways to get help with color. These are pastels. Now, who would think there would be this many fantastic pastels? I've never been a pastel person. I've been an over-the-top, really dark, dramatic color person. But when I see this, it's not just Easter, is it? This could be winter. It could be summer morning. It definitely is spring. It could be many things. I suppose it could even be fall if you worked hard enough at it and you had some good contrasting colors going. But using paint chips in the paint aisle of your store is a wonderful way to start getting some idea of color sense for the project that you might be struggling with or planning. This book is great too. My mom got me this book, and she found it on Amazon. It's called, I'll put a link to this. I'll put an affiliate link to this because I have an Amazon account and I can link this up to it, assuming it's in stock, which I haven't checked. But it's called 100 Years of Color by Katy Greenwood. 100 Years of Color by Katy Greenwood. It's a real thick book. It's a picture book, and I bet you've already guessed it's about color. This book is just incredible. It takes you through the entire 20th century, year by year, using fairly famous or iconic illustrations from that particular year to, and then a sort of thing about each decade, to show you that year, the colors that were popular that year. They're showing you an illustration that, again, was iconic at that time, and they're showing you the most important colors in it. And this works like a paint chip. If this gives you a sort of a feel, then that's a good starting point for planning a rug. It goes right from 1901 or 1900. I mean, gosh, right? It's just so neat because what they're showing you too, these are posters and movie posters, concert posters. That's Elvis. I might have done that one already. Wants to open to 1957. Sorts of optical illusion, up art stuff in the middle of the century, and 1960, spacey stuff. But, you know, the thing about color is, and the problem with color is, when you are creative and you do a lot of stuff, and you always have, you do sort of turn into someone. This is the year I was born, 1972. Wow, look at that outfit. I guess I was wearing that in the baby version. You do tend to gravitate toward the same colors. Everybody does. There's some punk rock coming in at you in 1977. This book is just fun. It's a great sort of time capsule book. But who would think a book about color could get 1980s starting, Swatch Watch Time coming at you? But who would think that a book like this could get you going on so many ideas? It's a great idea book, and it's a great color book. 100 Years of Color by Katy Greenwood. Everybody does tend to gravitate toward the same colors. For me, it's fall and Halloween colors. I rarely touch blues and yellow and brown. So for everybody, it's different. For people that are doing mostly primitive rugs that are meant to look primitive and older, they're going for those earthy colors, the olives, the rust, those kinds of colors, the grays, which isn't boring. It's just a specific palette. But if you are a person who always goes for blues or blues and yellows, I would say really push yourself, color chips, whatever it takes to do at least one project that is outside of your color zone. Try something different and see what happens, because I am just now for the first time in my life getting into yellow. It's never been my thing, but suddenly something struck me. It's going to come up in one of my other videos with the rug, that it was like a light turned on and I was just suddenly in love with yellow. So that's what happens when you experiment, or you're forced to experiment with different colors. Those things can happen, and those are such gifts, having those little moments. So if you are struggling at all with color changes, light to dark, and you are not a dyer, then you're probably looking for swatches. Swatches are little clippies of fabric, usually these little rectangular clips about the same size always. And dyers do these. Door Wool does them. I don't know if they still do them. A lot of mine are Door Wool or Potpourri or specific rug hooking artists that have dyed them over the years, and I've somehow gotten a hold of them. I dye some of my own. I don't usually do really comprehensive swatches in 8 or something like this, but you can find them, and they can be a little bit on the pricey side. I know Donna at Whispering Hill in Woodstock, Connecticut has them, because that's my local rug hooking store. I also know this past week I was at the White Cat in Cotuit, Cotuit, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and she had swatches. Probably most rug hooking stores still have swatches, but they are getting a bit scarce, at least the Door Wool. But a swatch will show you. This is obviously an orange set. This is Liziana, so Diana O'Brien's store. I got this from in Shelburne, Massachusetts, up near the Berkshires. But you know, this is showing you every swatch set. This is called Cinnamon. The color from light to dark, right? The same tone from light to dark. It's extremely helpful if you're shading something like a flower or a stem or a background, anything. This is called Spice Brown. It's going to go from that light to that dark. I don't know where I got these from. I had a ton of these pinks that go from the very pale sort of petal pink to kind of modelly pinks and dark fuchsias. But having these is extremely helpful if you know you want to go light to dark. If you're not doing something very graphic with flat color spaces, then you might need to think about dyeing or acquiring swatches, because it would be very hard without swatches this close in color and tone to be able to put a whole spectrum of one color together. It would be very expensive too, because it's not cheap getting wool. I like this one. This is kind of a pistachio that goes into like a black green. So one of the interesting things for me about color, one of my favorite colors, it being as colorful as I hope I am, and I like to be or try to be, is that with rug hooking, I always go for a color called Antique Black, which veteran hookers know what that is, but people who are new to hooking, It's something that you'll hear about a lot in books and stuff. And it is a not quite black black. And it is a traditional, primitive, old-time color that includes a lot of black, but also often has shades of purple, red, rusty oranges, dark greens. This is what made me think of it. It's a black that's so dark you would recognize it as black, but it's not completely saturated with black. Of course, you need tons of black powder to make black wool, tons and tons and tons. So sometimes you have color variations in there, and it's not quite black. It's mostly black. It reads as black, but when you get right up close to it, you realize you're looking at antique black. And that is one of the best things in the world for me, because when you see a background done in antique black, you've already got built-in variation, excitement, movement, change. It's exciting. That's something to look up if you don't know about it. Look up some rugs that have antique black. It's a really, really fun thing to spot. So you can also get swatches that are sort of modeled. Like I have this set, I'm not sure where from, but this is maybe a dying day or a fun day of rusts with a few purples and greens in there, and I've got them all pinned together for who knows what project. But these are my fall colors, and you know, a few variations, some different stuff in there, some modeling, a little bit of casserole and knotting and tying in the pot, and you know, those are going to come in handy for one project. This could be a great background or some tree action going on there. And you can get sets. This one is from Whispering Hill. This is just a set of little extra remnant type pieces, but they're all little colored swatches. And these are going to come in really handy for something. I can't wait until I figure out what, but it'll be sooner rather than later, because they're great colors and it's real high quality. So you can get those kinds of swatches too that aren't the total solids. You can also find a lot of wool online and in shops, you could do it yourself, that are dip dyed or ombre dyed, meaning the color with ombre, the color is moving from light to dark, the same color. With the dip dyeing, you have at least one color that moves to another color. So for example, this is moving from, I think I've used part of it, but from a green to a purple, and it's changing as it goes. So something like that I could see using for like an evening sky, autumn evening sky or something like that, any season, I guess. But those ombres and dip dyes are very fun to play with too. Those are two phrases you can Google if you're looking for supplies online. Modeled is another big one, so you can get lots of different kinds of modeled. Means I get this effect when I do casserole dyeing, so I'm scrunching up the wool, squirting in different colors, using like all little pipette things to put different colors in there and get just a bath of different colors. This is another sort of modeled with the same color family, but certainly different colors in it. This matches the door behind me real well. And then this is another great autumn one. Many different colors in here, mottled, M-O-T-T-L-E-D, getting lots of change. But when this is cut, whether you're cutting it into, I wouldn't cut it into a 3 personally, because you'd lose so much of, I think, the color. But I would cut this anywhere between a 5 to an 8 myself, just preference. To see as much surface as I can of these colors. It looks like this is a lot of different crazy colors, but that will go into one background beautifully. Then there's all kinds of tie-dye type colors. I've done a lot of tie-dye coloring. This is just one color I did, an orange to white for flowers. And this is like apple blossomy, same thing, like a goldenrod color with a more pistachio minty color for flowers. Just white in one color, another kind of tie-dye thing I did, purple and purple. And this is the same color purple with kind of a raspberry. That's more of a mottled, different things for that. This I was going for pansy colors like the purple and the orangey color. But again, it's not going to come out like this unless you're doing wool applique. When you cut it into strips, you're going to be amazed at how beautiful the colors show up. It'll be so much more compacted. The color changes. This is like a yellow daffodil kind of thing going on, but these are all ones I made for flower designs I wanted to do this summer. This one too, this is pretty much all those colors but put in the same pan. Lime greens, like that Flavia yellow, which is super, super lime green, and some fall rusty colors with it. But it's just remarkable how I use this one for the June kit, the border, the blue tie-dye, turquoise. And then I use the same turquoise with my leftover orange. That's just something I fool around with sometime. Got a little bit of that in there. Oh, and this one's nice. I really like this, the sort of purple with other purples in it. I always go for those. But anyway, when you say tie-dye or you think of a tie-dyed piece of material to use in your piece, there are so many variations on that. It's not going to help to just say tie-dye. You're going to really need to think about what combos of tie-dye effect colors you want. I mean, how different is this one from this one? Right? I mean, it's like super, super night and day, completely different moods. They're all going to turn out beautifully. This one I think I got from Diana too at Lysiana. I have a few from her. I have a couple later ones from her too, but these are so pretty. Seems like a big piece of wool, right? Because wool is not cheap. But you have to remember, if you're a beginner, that you should plan on using 4 times the amount of wool than the space you're filling in. So it can become a lot. I would probably use this for a background of something. So I'm going to want a lot, and I probably want even more than that. I just bought a ton of tie-dyed wool from a buddy online, and I can't wait for that to come. A lot of people over-dye wool too. So this is like sort of a tie-dyed over-dye. And it's on, you can see it, like a tweed fabric. And yeah, it took really nice. It's a lot of variety. It's real specific, but I know I'm going to find a use for this. Beautiful color with that nice tweed, a lot of body to that. So those are great color type things. I'm always because I do a lot of dyeing. I'm always looking for colors that aren't solid. So if I see swatches, I usually pick them up if I love the color, so that I don't have to do a whole swatch thing with dyeing. And if I see someone else's tie-dye that I love, or modeled, I don't mean tie-dye, I mean like many colored, I usually go for that, because I think, first of all, I love to support other people who are doing dyeing and rug hooking endeavors, but also their colors are different. You know, somebody else's stuff is always better or more fun. At least it's different. You haven't looked at it, you haven't made it, it's something new. So I always pick up those. And the other category of wool, colored wool, I always pick up is plaid. If it's something that I'm looking for that's not in a color family I already have. Plaid might sound like a boring word, but there are some boring plaids for sure. Remember, when they hook, they always look different than they do on a hanger or on a shelf. So let's see. For example, yesterday I just picked this Pendleton skirt at Goodwill, and it's a really nice plaid, like pinks, turquoise, sea colors. It was $2.50. So obviously I grabbed that. Now, would you ever think there would be multiple colors of yellow plaid? Yellow is one of the hard ones to find. I got a ton of this at the White Cat, this yellow plaid. I just love it. It's going to be great for fall. I might put it into a kit. And more yellow plaid, and even more like a buffalo yellow plaid. Different kinds of colors. And then this one, kind of like a herringbone yellow plaid. This might be over-dyed. Some of these might be over-dyed. But even if you go with a very oddball color like yellow, you're still going to have lots of choices of plaid. And the thing about plaid is that unless you're a weaver, you can't make it, right? You can't go into the dye kitchen and make it. You can over-dye it and change the color, but you can't make it yourself. So if you see it at a thrift store, a garment that you can cut up and use, grab it. Or if you find something that's plaid at a rug hooking store and you love it, grab it, because it's plaid and it's hard to find and you can't do it. Nice green plaid, right, for Christmas. Different color green plaid, like a celery. But these are, I'm just looking through, I got this giant bag of plaids at the White Cat when I was on vacation last week. And these are different plaids for me. These are not your standards. Look at this one. I mean, it's got purple and it's got brown. It's got light blue. That's a nice big piece too. Mustard and navy. This is a traditional plaid, but this is what I would consider a Christmas plaid. And I've already got a nice piece started with a bunch of gingerbread cookies on a cookie tray and a winter scene behind. That's good for fall, this one. So I know already, oh, this is a good one for fall, right? Plaid, window pane plaid, herringbone type things, large scale plaids. There's so many different kinds of plaids. I got a lot of stuff from the White Cat. She's good. That is worth a drive to the Cape. A bunch of little guys from her too, like this kind of thing. Anyway, great colors that you can't do at home. These are what I would consider Christmas plaids, you know, when they're all cut up. This is over dyed. A little bit of yellow and green to that, and this is certainly over dyed. But how neat is that? That's going to find a good home. And some different reds, traditional ones. So yeah, plaid is something else to think about. I'm going to leave you with one more thing. Oh, these are nice. Dorr, D-O-R-R, in New Hampshire does a lot of this kind of stripy wool. It's, you know, if you would cut it, I would cut it like this down, so you get a little bit of each color on each one. When you, oh, look at this, get rid of my face with the door behind it, perfect. These are really fun to hook. They look very sort of Santa Fe, Midwestern, but when they're hooked, they don't. They just have a lot of feeling of color and movement and a lot of color changing in a small space. Those are really fun, those stripy ones. So I'm going to leave you with this. I'm just going to pull out a rug that I don't think I've shown before on a video, that it was a color challenge for me because it was a commission rug. And the girl was so nice that that got this. She didn't really know what she wanted, but she knew she wanted a whale, crows, and fish. And I was having a hard time. I was thinking Heckle and Jekyll and Moby Dick, and I just couldn't figure out how to put it together. And I put it together in the end. And then I struggled because, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not a big blue person. And certainly blue with yellow, I was thinking yellow sky, you know, horizon line, yellow, blue. I wanted it to be somewhat traditional, but I wanted it to be different. Because I knew she likes primitive. She seems like she'd like anything, so I wanted to give her something special. So I did this. Probably can't see it all in one, but it is a whale with a lot of color variation in it. There's a lot of fish in the background, in oranges and yellow. This is one of the things that got me going on yellow. And I did a black border with some birds. But the thing that I did with color to make this for myself not boring, you know, I had the blue background. We talked about that. I had the dark border. I outlined the crows on the border. And I needed to put a bit more color in it. And I struggled with it a little bit. I used the complementary yellow to orange that complements the blue on the color wheel. And then I put a sweep of blue for movement under the wheel, that whale. That's many colors. I hope you can see that. Let me do this. Many colors of blue. And then I wasn't happy with blue, 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 blue. So I added this sort of sherbety colored, instead of just coming out of his, I think blowhole is the right word. That doesn't sound too good, but I think that's the right word. Shooting up from there, instead of being just white and blue spray, more blue, more white, I made it in this kind of sherbety color, but not a rainbow. It's not even really as bright as I think it's coming out, but did something different with color there. And that's just experimenting and laying your stuff out. But when you know that you're starting with something like blue and black and gray, and you want to push beyond that, then the point is to just think about the colors that are opposite it, or play with swatches, or do some experimenting to see what colors you might put with that would be very unexpected. Whether they're in your color zone, comfort zone or not, just unexpected is good, right? And this just reminded me that I dyed the wool to bind this rug too. I don't know if you can see this. It's brighter than it looks because I got this crazy light on my face and on the table. This is like an antique black on the corners. It's, again, not quite as bright as it looks. It's much blacker in person. Bring the light down. Let me see if I can do. Nah, it's not that good without the light, but it's got many colors of like blue, reds, browns, and from a distance, it will read as black on the border, but that's the antique black. It's coming out very bright with this light. But just an example of something fun to do with your traditional colors. I read the other night in a rug hooking book something like, one of the great things about rug hooking is you could make like a pink tree and a blue house with a green river, you know, and in that great naive style that you get when you hook. Don't be tied to traditional colors if you want to do something different. Look at art books, look at expressionists, impressionists, all kinds of different things. But anyway, it is hot, and I hope that gave you some good ideas about color, what to look for when you're out building your stash, especially as a beginner. Interesting things to pick up that I think you'll cherish later and use sooner rather than later. And as usual, please comment or like so I know people are watching these videos. I hope I gave you some good ideas. I hope that helped. Stay cool, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.